Welcome back to another Capital Conversation. I'm Colin Day, Certified Financial Planner Professional, and with me today, John Biedenstein. John, how are we doing today?
We are doing wonderful.
We are. We had lunch today.
We had lunch to celebrate a birthday for Marquita.
Yep.
It was very tasty. A great celebration, though.
Yes.
So,
And it's important that we do this immediately after having our sandwiches because, as I told you, we're at risk of me falling asleep this afternoon. So we wanted to get this out and make sure that we communicated via podcast or via video, depending on how you're indulging us today. And today, John, topic du jour, what is your financial advisor doing with AI? Do you know?
that's a great question. For individuals like myself who candidly don't use AI or some of these tools for things, I think a lot of individuals, a lot of younger people might use them for, hey, I need to replace this. I'm going to watch this to figure out how to do that. I'm not one that does that.
Yeah.
So I do know that we use some of these applications, and I think what we're doing is like the first step. And I know, Colin, you're using some of these things. Sophia's using these things in our for our suite of services that we're providing people. But how are they impacting things? Some of them might not have a direct impact on our managing money for individuals, but it does impact how we get a message across to you, or it might impact how we're gathering information to manage assets for you. So in that last one is like a evolving subject, because I think investment managers are getting a better handle on how AI is impacting companies and productivity and those type of things. And that's where we'll see it further and further down the line.
Yeah, and I think most financial advisors are probably not too dissimilar from the shoes that we're wearing today, which is, we're dipping our toes into the water of AI to better understand how it can help improve our productivity, to be honest with you. Because no, we don't use it for our client portfolio management. No, we don't use it to scan our database and find interesting things that maybe we want to talk about with folks, at least not yet. But for the reasons of privacy, for compliance concerns and things like that, we are taking it very, very slow in terms of the types of technologies that we use, because we want to be sensitive to the fact that not everybody has a comfort level using AI. I learn stuff about AI all the time. We hosted an event last week where we had a speaker talk about AI to a group of business leaders in the St. Louis area to help them better understand what are the most basic capabilities of AI that you might be comfortable offering today. And I got a lot out of it. I don't know.
I was thoroughly impressed in regard to it. Number one, the number of people that showed up to the event and the diversity of the people in their roles. There were HR people, there were accounting people. We work with a lot of construction companies and engineers, so there was engineering people, there was IT people. So it was a great assortment of individuals trying to get their arms around, what is this and how can this help them? And it was more of the Microsoft Copilot was the topic of jour there. So, and that's kind of, so it is something that, like I said, we had a great event, but the other thing, 75% of 80% of the people were there at the end. So it was something where people were interested. There were great questions throughout the thing. Yeah. And so yes, it is something out there.
People are curious and they want to see, okay, is this going to replace me? I think that's first, to put it bluntly, I think a lot of people are interested in AI to kind of figure out, like, what is my job security knowing that these technologies are only going to improve over time? They're not going to get worse. Companies are going to be more interested in adopting them. And because of that fact, we should be concerned about that as individuals, just as we are as financial advisors. I think a lot of fear-mongering in the financial advising community is more on the robo side of things, which, at least according to many, isn't going to replace the human touch that an advisor can offer. But I don't think that means that financial advisors need to flee away from offering some kind of AI solutions within either the suite or to help themselves as an office to be productive. So John, would it be okay maybe if I get you up to speed in terms of all the AI technologies that we use, maybe on a day-to-day basis? Would that be helpful?
Absolutely. And one of them I know already.
You do? Which one is that?
Jump.
Jump. So Jump is a new AI that we're just starting to use in our office right now. And it is a note-taking app. So you may be familiar with other types like, I think it's called Fathom, that basically just exists in the background of your Zoom meeting or your Teams meeting. And basically it's just a note taker. It's existing in the background. And in all honesty, what we use it for is mostly for the transcript. So we can go back to the tape, so to speak, and figure out exactly how we got to a certain realization in the client meeting, that we had a particular touch point, or, oh man, I really wish I wrote down this number and I just forgot. Oh, well, very good. I've got either the recording of the video I can watch or the transcript. But what Jump does specifically for us as financial advisors is it's using a language that helps us better and compliantly, which you'll appreciate as our Chief Compliance Officer, document the relationship that we are establishing with an individual. So for example, it's taken the transcript of all the knowledge and all the communication that's been had, the tens of thousands of words that likely I spoke, because I can't stop talking during my meetings. But what it does is it's going to distill it in the way to bring out the most important factors. So it's going to split off into charts, it's going to split off into bullet points in regards to the things that we discussed, the most important pieces. So it might be, hey, how much money do you have outside in your 401k? I can't see that. Great, that's going to be a line item that's going to be a part of the your balance sheet when we think about the assets in your portfolio. It might be providing things like the monthly payment on your mortgage. It might provide various different kinds of details in your financial life so that we can better understand it, and it's going to display it in a way that we can just pull the data very quickly from it, as opposed to reading the paragraphs and paragraphs of text that we can put in there. And then it also helps us from a productivity standpoint, because it's going to link to our CRM. And so then it goes into the person's file. All the information is right there. It cuts out the middleman in terms of having to do this. And then I think what's most important, and the reason that I want to use this in the first place, is because most of our time in the meeting is me taking notes, using and filling up my workbooks. It allows me to better understand the individual and to see them eye to eye, whether it's in person or via camera. What are you actually feeling when I'm talking about something, as opposed to me just, clacking the pen and jotting down things, and I'm not making eye contact any longer, and suddenly I've lost you. I've lost the connection. So I can focus on the most important person in that meeting, which is our client, and less on the paper and making sure that I've documented all the numbers, because I can just go to the tape, or again, I can go to the transcript.
That's critical in from the individual meetings with individuals, or even meetings with committees where we frequently have with retirement plans.
Yeah.
It's the last idea that Colin mentioned is fantastic, because it does. I mean, there's been a burdensome duty of who is transcribing these notes, and we can leverage on a lot of that to be done by the computer. We always review those to make sure they're accurate, putting together minutes or anything like this. But that individual that was frequently taking notes now has the liberty to more kick in and be part of the conversation, and talk about things that, hey, this brought this to mind or that to mind, and things we should talk about. It's increasing our productivity in regards to how we're handling situations versus, free to manage the things rather than just manage what you're responsible to do for this minute.
Right, exactly. So, again, that's a very good example of a productivity tool that assists us get out of the more commoditized area, which is note-taking, making sure that I'm listening to the person, but rather pushing that to the side so I can really focus on the things that matter the most, which is the consulting, which is the idea generation, the things that our clients actually value from our relationship. Yeah, so that's an example of one of the softwares that we're using right now.
Okay. What's another one that we use, Colin?
So another one that we're using currently, many of you are familiar with, it is just ChatGPT. Now, we don't use the paid version. We don't use anything more sophisticated than 3.5, which is currently available to the general public, as long as you set up an account. And the way that we're using it right now is to just generate ideas. Sometimes, I'll be honest with you, John, sometimes it's a podcast. I'm trying to find some ideas of some things that are going on, and man, I'm just really struggling at the moment. And I can go into ChatGPT and I can create a prompt. If you're not familiar, it's basically, again, it's another large language model, and so you're using it to create prompts for providing ideas for the next thing that you want to know about that maybe you don't know the questions to ask yet. So as an example, I might say, hey, Pretend you are a financial advisor that does a local podcast for people that might be interested in financial planning topics. This should cover this and this and this. What are the 8 things that might be of topics that might be interesting to talk about in this one? And there might be one that's good out of those 8, because maybe we've covered the other ones, maybe they aren't things I'm really interested in chatting about. The other ways that we use ChatGPT are, for example, on presentations. So I do a lot of presenting to our 401k plans and those participants, and sometimes I hit a wall and I say, I think I know what I want to talk about, but what are some of the things that maybe I'm not thinking about that our participants would want to hear about? So for example, I'm drafting a presentation right now, and after this meeting, I'm going to go work on it. But before I start to really work on it, I'm going to go to ChatGPT and say, here are the things that I've got on here. I'm trying to create maybe 20 slides for this presentation on this particular topic. It could be debt planning, it could be saving for a house, it could be investment management, whatever it is. I can give it the prompt and the kinds of things that I want in there, the creativity, the amount of words that I want per slide, and it will generate the prompt, and then I can copy paste. Now, the Copilot program that you were just explaining within Microsoft 365, well, they could just do all that for you. It will just create the presentation in PowerPoint if you if you wanted it. But the way that we work with it right now is we would just use ChatGPT for the knowledge. So does that help? Does that help explain kind of what we use it for right now?
I tell you, it does. Colin does a great job on the education on their 401k plans, even with wealth management clients. They get it more in one-on-one. But 401k plans, it's more of group environments. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of folks that we've talked to, whether it's a prospect that became a client that basically said, our advisor comes in and talks about the 401k plan. They talk about the investment choices, the returns, how much I should deposit, those type of things. But it's the canned topics and the same agenda each time. Mm-hmm. And the fact that we do dedicated sessions on, for example, debt management, for example, high inflation that we've been through, for example, market volatility when things are going up and down. That's where we differentiate ourselves, and we're really focused on participant education, so that people might learn something from this, and they have an opportunity to talk with us one-on-one after it, and or get a meeting scheduled with their significant other, whoever it is, might be helping them in running their financials or financial planning side, help in the regards to that too. So it really takes it past just providing information to an educational experience, and I think that's where keeping it up to date and keeping it, what are you thinking about, what should I be thinking about, is critical. And I think it's why our session, or a lot of the ones are led by you, the employment education sessions tell to be very effective and to the point.
Yeah, and to maybe iterate on the 401k side for a second, one of the things that we do every summer is a participant survey. In our 401k plans, we handle several thousand participants across the United States, and we need
almost 3,000. Yeah,
okay, there you go. So we need to keep our finger on the pulse of what all those folks think of, because they're all at different life stages, they're all different kinds of different demographics. We need to make sure that we are speaking to them when we do these presentations, because Colin can just sit on top of his mountain and pretend like, I think this is interesting, and fingers crossed that you do when you watch it. But if I can figure out exactly what you need, then that's what I want to deliver upon. So for example, we're going to get hundreds of responses from the survey once we put it out later on this summer. We can use a function within ChatGPT. It could be Microsoft Copilot if it's in an Excel sheet. And we can take that data and just ask the AI, provide me some insight here. And we can be just as simple as that, and it will spit out information to say, hey, most of the people that are interested in debt management presentations are in their 30s and 40s, and they happen to work for ABC company. We'll be like, whoa, okay, well that's really important information for me to know. I could probably draw a data set, and I can beautiful mind the data in a way to figure this out, probably just by spending a few minutes on it, or I could just create a prompt that does the thing for me. So that when we meet with our plan sponsor representatives and say, hey, your participants need to know about this, and this is why we know that, we use a survey, and then we use the AI to then generate the information for us. So yeah, all this is very valuable stuff within the ChatGPT ecosystem.
Yep.
So, but I got a third one for you, John.
And I already know the name.
Well, do you?
Because you told me.
How many times? No, I'm just kidding. So the last one, and it's one that many of you are also very familiar with, it's Canva. So if you're not familiar with Canva, Canva is a design program. It basically makes your stuff that you try to put out on the internet more beautiful than likely I can. I'll speak for myself in this case. John could probably do it without me. But with Canva, what it does is it basically is just taking your information, creating templates, plugging in, and then you can create your LinkedIn post, your Instagram post, your flyer, your document data collection sheet, whatever it might be. And specifically within Canva, they offer this AI solution called Magic Design. And Magic Design, you just feed it a prompt. I need a LinkedIn post. I want it to match my business color scheme. So it would take like all the colors that are like behind me as an example, and it would create a post based on whatever else I need in the prompt. So I might say, hey, I'm trying to create a post using our business information, and I want it to be this particular quote attributed to this particular person, and I want it to be inspirational. And it will take that information, it will generate a few ideas for you. And now this can be hit or miss, because I've only had success doing this once. But what I will say, where Canva is nice, is that, first of all, this program is very cheap. It comes to like $10 a month, I believe, if you want to have the paid version. But what it does is it helps me organize my thoughts. It helps me with the layout of a page. It better understands the space than I could, what fonts might work well in this particular instance. I'll use it for those particular purposes. Generally speaking, what it spits out will not be what I will use, because it's just not good enough, or at least not up to my standards. But at minimum, what it's going to do is to organize it. So then what I do is I create this thing, and then I send it over to John, because he's our compliance guy, and then he gets to approve it, and he thinks I'm a genius, right?
And I do read it.
But those types of things, again, because we're not designers here. We don't have a full-time marketing person.
I like to say that we're cost effective.
Yeah.
Okay. But candidly, these posts, some of these things come to me, and they're good looking. They're much better than just hand like I would generate it, which is written and then maybe put a color on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and then you put it on the scanner, you scan it, and then you'd hand it to me.
And then, but that's how we do things. But anyway, so the reality is it looks better. It's often delivering a better message. Mm-hmm. So it works. And the fact that it's cost effective is great.
Yeah, and two of those three. So Jump is one that's specific for financial advisors, but ChatGPT and Canva, the latter two, are things that are available to the general public. And I think the whole point of me talking about these three softwares that we're currently comfortable using from an AI perspective is that we're not doing anything crazy here. We're not trying to jeopardize our clients' information from a compliance perspective. That's a huge no-no. But what we're doing is we're dipping our toe in the water. And that's, I believe, how majority of financial advisors are looking at this. We have in front of us, both John and I, this JP Morgan report that's talking about the transformative power of generative AI. And they're talking about all these cool things that will happen with AI in the future. And then on this, in the appendix even, they have this chart where they're talking about a task-based approach to sizing the productivity impact of AI technologies. And they give some general insights in regards to what we could be doing with AI, and then in order of difficulty, what AI will likely grow into. And we're on the most basic level. And again, I think all financial advisors, if not 99% of them, are in our same boat. And what we are focusing on is not on the portfolio side, not doing weird things with client data, big no-no, but rather just trying to be more productive with you all.
Correct.
That's it. I mean, that's really all I see it being used for. Jump on itself is saving me hours of time doing transcript work, rereading the notes, having to produce the notes, having to produce the emails and the recaps and things like that. It's all in the system. So that saves me a ton of time when I use it. But I'm not using AI to, again, do weird things, find the person on the street, take a photo of them, look them up online and see where they work, who's their kid, is their kid in my kid's elementary school class, like that kind of stuff. Like, no, we're not doing any of that. Huge timeout and huge no-no. So, but that's, I think, the level that we as advisors are comfortable using AI at this point.
Yeah, and as Colin mentioned earlier, robo-advisors or robo-AI advisors, I think we both agree that it's simply a roll of the dice. That's gambling, that's not investing. So, and That's not what we do. We don't ever see that AI would have an impact on in the investments that we're selecting or monitoring and managing for you. We might be looking at things that companies do, or investments, whether it's stocks or equities or managers, things that how they are using AI, but we're not making a decision on them based on AI, if that makes, and I think that's very important because that's not what the client is hiring us for.
Yeah.
So we're using this technology to benefit them. And
Yeah, I would say probably the next area where AI could be used in an office like ours would be on analysis, just better understanding your personal situation. Here's the data that I have, anonymized information on an individual. What are the opportunities that do exist from a planning perspective? I don't even think we're going to get to that point where we talk about from an investment standpoint for probably at least a few years.
Yep.
But then again, many people got very excited back in 2000 with internet companies, if I remember, John, and we know how that busted in a big old bubble. I don't think AI is in the same place, but I think some of the growth that we've experienced over the past, let's call it year and a half or so, has been because of the popularity of AI and ChatGPT. You see it in the number of publicly traded companies that mention AI when they're giving their quarterly reports. It's something that's not going to go away, and so we're going to use it to our comfortability level, which again is on the productivity side, and we'll just have to approach it as it comes with new opportunities.
agreed.
All right. Well, John, thanks for joining me with me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And until
All
next
for
time.
watching.
Yeah, until next time, have a great day.
The opinions expressed in this program are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or on any specific security. It is only intended to provide education about the financial industry. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult your financial advisor prior to investing. As always, please remember investing involves risk and possible loss of principal capital. Please seek advice from a licensed professional. Correct Capital Wealth Management is a registered investment advisor. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where Correct Capital Wealth Management and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. No advice may be rendered by Correct Capital Wealth Management unless a client service agreement is in place.